Hi everyone, welcome back to my UGC NET Criminology lecture series. In today's video, we shall revise the entire Unit 1. So let us begin with the idea that crime is a legal, social and psychological construct. From a legal point of view, crime is straightforward. It is any act that violates the law of the land and is punishable by the state. For example, murder, theft or fraud are clearly defined under criminal law, but the moment we move beyond law into society, things become more complex. Society defines what is acceptable and unacceptable, and these definitions are not fixed. They change over time. For example, there was a time when Section 377 criminalized same-sex relationships in India. After legal reforms, the same behavior is no longer considered a crime. This shows that crime is not absolute, it evolves with changing social values. Now let's look at the psychological dimension. Many crimes cannot be fully understood without examining the mental state of the offender. Consider a case where a person commits violent assault after years of domestic abuse or trauma. Psychologically, that individual may be acting out of suppressed anger or emotional breakdown. Serial offenders in many studies have shown patterns of childhood neglect, abuse, or personality disorders. A global example is how criminal profiling has revealed that many serial killers experienced early trauma or dysfunctional family environment. This tells us that crime is not just about law breaking, it is deeply connected to human behavior and mental processes. This naturally brings us to the distinction between deviance and crime, one of the most important conceptual areas for your exam. Deviance refers to behavior that violates social norms, while crime refers to behavior that violates legal norms. But the interesting part is that these two do not always overlap. For example, a person choosing not to marry or rejecting traditional family roles may be considered deviant in certain conservative societies, but it is not a crime. On the other hand, white-collar crimes like tax evasion or insider trading are clearly criminal, but many people may not see them as morally wrong compared to violent crime. This difference shows how law and morality can sometimes move in completely different directions. Now let us move into traditional crimes, which are among the oldest and most visible forms of crimes. These are broadly divided into crimes against property and crimes against person. Crimes against property include acts like theft, robbery, and burglary, where the main objective is to gain economic benefit. Imagine a scenario where a thief breaks into a house at night and steals valuables. That is a classic burglary case. But even within property crimes, there are organized patterns such as repeated thefts in urban areas targeting specific groups like elderly residents. Crimes against persons are more direct and often more severe, including murder, assault, and sexual violence. A deeply impactful case study is the 2012 Delhi gang rape case, often referred to as the Nirbhaya case, which not only highlighted the brutality of sexual violence but also led to major legal reforms in India. When we analyze crimes against person, we must also focus on different victim groups. Children, for instance, are highly vulnerable to trafficking and abuse, as seen in numerous cases under child protection laws. Women face systematic violence, including domestic abuse and harassment. The LGBTQ community often becomes a target of hate crimes due to societal stigma, while marginalized communities, particularly those affected by caste discrimination, experience structural violence. Interestingly, male victims of domestic violence are often overlooked due to societal stereotypes, which shows how gender expectations influence crime reporting. Moving ahead, victimless crimes present a unique challenge in criminology. These are acts where there is no direct victim, yet society is affected. Alcoholism and drug addiction are key examples. Take the example of drug abuse in regions like Punjab, where addiction has not only affected individuals but also destroyed families and increased crime rates. Commercial sex work is another debated area. While some view it as exploitation, others argue for its decriminalization and regulation. Suicide is particularly important because it reflects a shift in how we understand crime. Earlier, attempting suicide was treated as a criminal act, but now it is increasingly seen as a mental health issue requiring support and intervention. These examples force us to rethink what harm means and whether punishment is always the right response. Family centered crimes take us into a deeply sensitive area where crime occurs within the most trusted institution, that is, the family. Dowry related crimes remain a major issue. Despite legal prohibitions, there have been numerous cases where women face continuous harassment for dowry, leading to what are often termed as dowry deaths. Domestic violence is another widespread issue that includes not only physical abuse but also emotional manipulation and economic control. For example, a woman being prevented from working or accessing money is a victim of economic abuse. Child abuse is equally alarming, with increasing reports of physical and sexual abuse within households. Case studies under child protection laws show that in many instances the offender is someone known to the child, which makes prevention and reporting even more difficult. These crimes reveal that the family, while being a source of support, can also become a space of control and violence. At the community level, crime often takes the form of collective conflict. Interreligion and intercaste tensions have historically led to the violation in many parts of India. Communal riots, for example, are not just spontaneous acts of violence but are often fueled by long standing mistrust, political influence, and misinformation. Honor killings in cases of intercaste or interreligious marriages are another example where families or communities justify violence in the name of preserving honor. These crimes highlight how deeply social identity and group dynamics influence criminal behavior. Now, let us enter the domain of modern crimes, which are rapidly evolving with changes in technology and globalization. Organized crime involves structured networks engaged in illegal activities such as trafficking, smuggling, and extortion. A well-known example is the network operated by organized crime syndicates, which often function across countries. Economic crimes such as financial frauds and scams have increased significantly, especially with digital banking. Cases involving large-scale bank frauds demonstrate how financial systems can be exploited. Corruption is another major issue where public officials misuse their power for personal gain, affecting governance and government. Corporate crimes occur when companies prioritize profit over safety and ethics. A classic case study often discussed globally is the Bhopal gas tragedy, where industrial negligence led to massive loss of life and long-term environmental damage. Development-induced crimes arise when large infrastructure or industrial projects displace local communities, particularly tribal populations, leading to conflict and exploitation. Environmental crimes such as illegal mining and pollution not only harm ecosystem but also affect public health. Hate crimes target individuals based on identity such as religion or caste, often leading to violence like mob linking. Cybercrimes have become one of the fastest growing categories, including phishing, scams, hacking, and identity theft. For example, OTP fraud cases have become extremely common, showing how technology creates new opportunities for crime. Terrorism and insurgency represent crimes against the state and society at large. Terrorism involves acts designed to create fear and achieve political or ideological goals. The 2008 Mumbai attacks serve as a powerful example of how terrorism can impact not just a country but the entire world. Insurgency, on the other hand, involves armed rebellion against the government, often limited to specific regions. While both involve violence, their objectives and scope differ, which is an important distinction for your exam. The relationship between crime and politics is another crucial area. In many cases, politics influence crime through criminalization of political leaders, use of violence during elections, and systematic corruption. There have been instances where individuals with serious criminal charges contest elections, raising questions about accountability and governance. This shows how power can both control and enable crime. Media and technology plays a dual role in shaping crime. On one hand, media exposes corruption, spreads awareness, and supports justice movements. On the other hand, it can sensationalize crime and sometimes even inspire imitation. For example, certain crime shows have been criticized for indirectly providing ideas for committing crimes. Technology has also enabled new forms of criminal activity, including cyberstalking, online harassment, and digital fraud. Social media platforms can be used both for awareness campaigns and for spreading misinformation or hate speech. Finally, transnational crimes highlight the global nature of modern criminal activity. These crimes cross national boundaries and include human trafficking, drug smuggling, arms trade, and cybercrime networks. For example, drugs produced in one country may be transported through multiple regions and sold in another, involving a complex international network. Similarly, cybercrime operations often involve actors from different countries, making enforcement difficult. These crimes require strong international cooperation and coordination among law enforcement agencies. As we conclude this crash course, remember that crime is not just an act, it is a mirror reflecting society, culture, psychology, and power structures. From traditional crimes to modern cyber threats, from family violence to global criminal networks, this entire unit provides the foundation for understanding criminology. If you truly understand these concepts, you are not just preparing for an exam, you are developing a deeper understanding of society itself. If you found this session useful, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment Unit 1 Master so that I know you are progressing seriously in your preparation. And in the next session, we will continue this journey by breaking down the next unit with the same depth and clarity. Stay consistent, keep learning, and let's crack UGC NET together.